Hi folks, this is the Mediocre Chess Meister, aka the Travel Meister, and this is the short version of the game I uploaded today. This is just a quick fun thing if you just want to, pass some time, just watch how some amateurs play. But I would really suggest you watch the medium or the long videos. Those ones have a little bit more description, and you can see kind of what I'm thinking when I'm playing certain moves. You can pick up some insights, some strategies that I use. And especially for a lower rank player, I'm in the low 1500s here at this point in time. If you're 14 1300s, you can pick something up that's more relatable to you. Even if you're like 15 16 1700s, you might be able to pick up some tactic that I played, which maybe you haven't played before. It's a way of thinking that you don't think of, but I did. But in this game, we begin with the usual moves, just getting control of the center with the pawns, expanding developing our knights and our bishops. And this is the first problem I get into. They have a really strong center here. They're really cramping my space with this pawn here. It's well supported, and it's cramping all my pieces in. I can't really move or do anything because of how cramped I am. So my next few moves are just to challenge the structure, and I do eventually break through a little bit. But now this is one place I had to be aware of. After he gets a really strong knight outpost here and threatens my queen, it might be a simple idea to move the queen here, but then that's a huge mistake. He's gonna fork my queen and the rook, and eventually when I move it, he's gonna win the exchange. So this is something I had to look out for. So I moved it back here, even though it's even still more cramped and there's just way too many pieces doing nothing in the back rank. I had to secure this spot. I then challenged his knight just to get rid of it. He continued to expand on the queen side, and now he's again come back with this, really strong central pawns that are cramping my space. In here is where I laid my first trap. So I've noticed there's a queenside majority, and I'm very weak against queenside pawn majorities, because maybe one of these pawns can be neutralized by one pawn, but then the other pawn becomes a passed pawn. It's completely free, and it just has all the space it wants to get down and promote, and it often takes a lot of resources to try and stop this flow of pawns coming down, and I really can't handle queenside pawn majorities. When it's a king side, sometimes you can use your king to kind of stem the flow, but in here it's just way too hard. So my plan is to try and either get rid of both of these pawns, or at least one of these pawns, so that there's no longer a queenside majority. So I lay a little trap. I play pawn to a5, and the idea is, if I do this, it's not really any use, just because they still have one pawn which is free. It's a queenside pawn. It's got all the space it needs to, no pawns to challenge it. But what I was hoping he would do, and which he actually did in fact, is instead of taking here, he's just gonna move ahead. And now he's created a passed pawn, and then he can support that with this pawn, which looks good in every single way, but it lets me play my trap, which I had previously thought of already when I moved this one here. And that is that this diagonal is completely exposed. The king is exposed for a check. And now that this pawn is no longer supported by this pawn, I can play my queen, give a check to the king, and fork this guy. And when he moves his king, I can take it. And now I've just gained a pawn, and I've dissolved the queenside majority. So it's a pretty big win. So the next few moves, I'm trying to attack more of his hanging pawns. He sees this guy, and for some reason maybe misses this guy, which is why in the next move when he plays this, he's protecting it with his queen, but he's left this guy completely alone, and that I just go ahead and take it. And now he's doing some counterplay where he's going to try and get the base pawn of my pawn chain, and I try and defend with my rook. He then kicks my queen off, and now he's bringing his queen into the play. He's gonna try and get his queen and his rook to make some good strong attacks against this pawn, against maybe my rooks, which are not, you see, they're not connected. So he's starting his own counterplay on this side. And soon enough, this is where I spring my next trap. So first I connect my rooks, and now when he plays his queen to a3, he's eyeing down this pawn, and he's going to take this, and then with this rook and with this knight, this guy's going to be a goner without his support. So that's something I had to look out for, but I had my own plans to counterplay on his king side, and that is, if I take it with my if I take the pawn on h3 with my bishop and he takes it with his pawn, I can then take the knight and he's completely exposed, and I can bring some really strong, if I bring the rooks out here somewhere, really get some attacks going. That's what I'm looking out for. But at the moment, obviously this king is supporting this square here. I can't take the knight because it's being supported by the queen. So I had to find a way to get rid of this queen from this rank. And that's exactly why I let them take this. I just kind of left it. And instead what I did was I pushed this pawn here, the f pawn, sorry, here. That way it strengthens this guy, so it has a good function to it. But at the same time, I'm leaving this guy as a trap. And when he takes with his take, and now the queen is finally gone from this this whole rank, and I go ahead and take that bishop. If he decides to take this, obviously I'm gonna take this guy here, and it's just a goner, just as before. But he has the good sense not to go ahead and straight take it. He instead plays his queen first, attacks me here, and then pushes his queen here in order to get back and just defend the whole area here. He's just opening up lines for his queen, and at the same time he's keeping an attack on my rook, so that if I ever move this, he can just take it, a surprise take. So I then move my rook to a 7th rank invasion, and this should be devastating. There's 3 major pieces, well, 2 major pieces and the bishop, all eyeing down this pawn, all eyeing down this really undefended king. So he moves his queen back. It's the best he can do. I go ahead and fork the king and the queen, supported by my rook. Exchange, 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 and he does get 2 pieces of mine for the queen, the rook and the bishop. So in some ways it looks like it's somewhat of a fair deal, but in our level it's really hard for amateurs to play in a coherent way with 2 separate pieces versus a queen. You have to play very well together, and often they just get forked and the queen just completely decimates them. So what I did here, I was eyeing this square here, because I can maybe fork this the rook and the king, but I wanted to get rid of the knight, so I just push him off, and now I have a really good attack here, because now when I play it, I'm forking 3 different pieces. I'm definitely gonna win. He has to support to safeguard his king. I'm almost definitely gonna win the knight, and if he plays something like this, I can still get the knight. If he plays something like this, I'm getting the knight. If he does something really stupid like, I don't know, this, I'm just gonna get the rook. Instead he plays the knight back to e2, which is weird because I think he thinks, okay, well, it's supported by this guy and he's blocking the check, but he missed this move completely, and I take the rook, and at this point he resigns. So this is my game. I hope you enjoyed it. It's just amateurs playing amateur moves, a lot of mistakes, but this is what I think makes it fun at the amateur level. Sometimes masters, when they're playing stuff, they do all these obscure moves which are all the correct and accurate moves, but you're like, why did they do this? I just don't get it. In here I hope it's something that's more relatable to you, something you can see, and I would suggest you watch the longer video, the long one, because it has all my thought processes behind it, and there's a lot of moves which I didn't analyze here, which you can analyze there. And I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you like my video. I hope you subscribe to my channel. I'm gonna try and put out videos every day if possible. It's still a lot of work down the road, and I hope you comment. And hopefully, I think in the later videos, I'm going to stop the video at some point. This is my first proper upload. That's not a test upload. And I hope that I can put up, stop somewhere, give you guys a chance to think, see what the correct move is, see if you can spot any nice tactics. So please like, subscribe, and enjoy.